Hello everyone and welcome back to Rival Recon here on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Hari Sethi. The table-topping Reds squandered another opportunity to extend their lead at the top of the table midweek when they failed to convert a hatful of chances away to Aston Villa, eventually leaving with a 2-2 draw and another point on the road. Arne Slot expressed his frustration post-match at another game where he felt his side deserved more and left points on the table, with a particular mention of Darwin Núñez, who missed an easy chance to seal the win after he came off the bench and then sulked about the place afterwards. In spite of the disappointment with the result, the performance was much improved in an attacking sense, and Liverpool will be hoping they can replicate that sort of creativity when travelling to the Etihad this Sunday to take on a Manchester City side who were knocked out of the Champions League midweek, courtesy of a Kylian Mbappe hat-trick at the Bernabeu. Joining me as ever to delve into what's been plaguing City this season and whether Guardiola's underperformed from a coaching perspective in response to the slump, and what their ambitions are for the rest of the season, I'm happy to welcome back content lead from OneFootball and a regular on the Blue Moon podcast, Dan Burke. Welcome back, Dan. Good to speak with you again. The time is here again. Liverpool travel to the Etihad.
Hi, Harry. Good to be here again. Talking about Man City's awful season. It should be quite cathartic, I hope.
I'm sure the Liverpool listeners to this podcast are happy to indulge themselves in another team's struggles. Some of the reaction I think we were talking about before we started recording. I think at the moment where Liverpool are, with this 8-point lead and well positioned at the moment for sort of this title race. I think where the majority of online Liverpool fans and quite a few Liverpool fans as well, let's be honest. I mean, even the sensible ones, I think there's that bit of post-traumatic kind of stress from previous title races and being aware of what the team needed to do, what they needed to achieve in order to sort of win or even get into contention of winning. And I think people are having a hard time readjusting to the fact that may well be the case again next season, and so on, but doesn't appear to be the case this season. And I'll hold my hands up. If Arsenal go on a generational run now and do what they haven't done all season, and even better what they did last season at this stage, then fair enough. Then you deserve to win Premier League title. But it doesn't seem as though that's going to be the case, and it also doesn't seem as though Liverpool are going to fall off. But as we approach this fixture, I'm reminded of how important these fixtures have been in the past. And again, this fixture seems like hugely important, given sort of the kind of not rough patch, but some of the draws Liverpool have had of late. And we'll get into that as well. But as you mentioned, plenty to talk about from the City perspective. And last time we spoke was ahead of that Anfield game. I remember I was in the US, and you were reassuring me that it was going to be okay. It was going to be okay, and I was surprised by sort of how that game went, and I think it was one of the better performances over the whole 90 minutes Liverpool have put in this season. But I wanted to ask you, since that game, it seems as though things have really continued on that trend, and from the outside in, City being bullied physically, if not technically, it seems to be some of the main theme of the season. Is that right?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I mean, you talk about the importance of the game this weekend. If we win this weekend, we could cut your lead over us to just 14 points. So, it's game on for me as far as I'm concerned if that happens. But, I mean, that game at Anfield earlier in the season, we went into that with an awful lot of dread. We'd been on a terrible run, which had seen us beaten 4-0 at home by Tottenham. We'd lost 4-1 away to Sporting in the Champions League. The game directly before the Liverpool one was that horrendous 3-3 draw with Feyenoord, where we were 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go and somehow managed to draw 3-3, which really set the tone for our Champions League campaign, which is, of course, over now. So we went into the game against Liverpool with an awful lot of trepidation, thinking, this could be a real hammering again here. On paper, you might say that it wasn't a real hammer in the end. Liverpool only won 2-0. And I think a lot of City fans that day, and I'm the exception to this, kind of took a bit of encouragement for that. Like, okay, we went there, we didn't get battered too badly. It wasn't too bad a result, but I think on the balance of play that day, it could have been 6 or 7 easily for Liverpool. And I was really disappointed with just how City City didn't compete in that game at all. I think they just went there completely terrified of what was going to happen. From the first whistle, they were making, lots of mistakes, which has been a real problem all season, really. A lot of unforced errors in games this season has been really frustrating, and City were doing that. Combined with Liverpool being very, very good on the day. Don't get me wrong, Liverpool were excellent that day, and we're for some better finishing. I think the scoreline would have looked a lot more healthy. I think it really flattered us, that 2-0.
I was going to say, actually, like, not to suggest that some of those errors were unforced. I mean, I think that was probably one of the more intense kind of pressing performances I've seen from Liverpool all season, to be honest. And I was a similar place to you. I was sort of pulling my hair out, going, surely we're going to convert these chances. I remember Gakpo missed a couple, Salah, and I was having flashbacks to the previous season's game where Diaz missed a couple as well. But you're right. I think physically it was a real struggle, right?
Yeah, I mean, you say that about intense pressing, and absolutely Liverpool pressed brilliantly that day. But if there's been one thing that's been a characteristic of City over the years, it's being able to cope with that and being able to play through it. And that is just something we've not been able to do this season very well at all. We've looked a little bit better at times in recent weeks, but, the results over the course of the season, if you look at it, it's just been so many cases of one step forward, two steps back, this week being a prime example. We played really well against Newcastle last week, who, to be fair, Newcastle weren't very good. I think they made it quite easy for us, but it was a good performance, a good result, encouraging. And you think, okay, maybe there's a bit of green shoots of recovery there again, and we've been sort of duped into thinking that many, many times this season. And then we go to the Bernabeu on Wednesday night and get torn apart again. And it's like, okay, I think a lot of City fans, myself included, are just coming around to the idea now that, like, this isn't there's no kind of like quick fix to this season. We're not going to just bounce back all of a sudden. We're not going to wake up one morning and remember to be a good football team again. We're just in this bad moment that we're trying to sort of get through now. And I think, in the grand scheme of things, being out of the Champions League is probably going to be more helpful to us in the long run than if we'd stayed in it, because we're not good enough to win it this year, nowhere near good enough to win it this year. So had we managed to get past Real Madrid somehow, I think we would have gone out pretty soon anyway. Playing games every 3 days is just killing us at the moment, because the big kind of injury problem for the season that has made everything unravel was the Rodri injury earlier in the season. That's been a bit of a sort of domino effect as how everything else has gone really badly. But also, we've not had a settled back four all season. There's been so many games where we've had to make a sub or two subs to defensive players, which that's not ordinarily not what a football team wants to do during a match. Sub the defence. You want to keep a settled back four during the game. You want to keep that stability. And we've just got, the likes of John Stones, Ruben Dias, Nathan Ake, just coming back from injury, getting injured again, being out for a couple of weeks, coming back, getting injured again. It's just been this sort of like death cycle, really. Akanji has played through injury for most of the season and is now out for probably the rest of the season. We brought a couple of players in defensive areas in January, but they're young guys who aren't really completely ready to step in yet. So that's been a big reason for the sort of lack of physicality that City have struggled with this season. And also, like I say, about unforced errors, that's been the most frustrating part of it for me. That's been the hardest thing to kind of get your head around, because we have recent experience of being a shit football team, and we know what that's like. We know that it can be frustrating, but in the old days, before the money came along and stuff, we just had bad players and they were a bad team, and you knew where you were with that. You could sort of set your expectations accordingly. When you've got really, really good players who've been brilliant over the years, making these stupid mistakes, giving away leads, giving away goals. There's been times where it feels like we start every game a goal down because we just make a stupid mistake, concede an early goal, and then we're playing catch up all game. That is really a lot harder to get your head around, because it's like, well, how do you solve this then? Is it a mentality thing? Are the players knackered? Are they injured? Is Pep doing something wrong? It's been really hard to kind of pinpoint the one thing that has been the biggest problem this season. So I think it's just something, the sort of philosophical thinking behind it is that it's a bad season. We're kind of allowed a bad season, and we'll just try and bounce back from it next season. And now that we're out of the Champions League, I think it's just a case of, trying to pick up some wins, get in the top four next season, maybe have a stab at the FA Cup. But I think finishing top four at this moment in time would be basically the best we can hope for from the season, and we just kind of try and put it behind us.
Yeah, I remember when we previously spoke, I made lots of comparisons, right, to that Liverpool 22-23 season.
Yeah.
And I've been struck by how similar it seems to be as the season's gone on. I suppose the only difference there being that in January there was that kind of tactical tweak to move Trent into midfield, which didn't solve all the issues by any stretch, but sort of papered over them to a certain degree, whereas there hasn't necessarily been the opportunity for City to do that, given, as you mentioned, the injuries. John Stones out last night as well. In the Bernabeu, yes, there's new attacking players who've joined and provide excitement as well, and particularly, of course, Marmoush, I think, in that performance against Newcastle. Looking forward, by the way, to Newcastle returning to prime Geordie Atletico Madrid when they come to Anfield in a few weeks. I've got no doubt that's going to be happening again. But very open on that day. And I think what I've seen of City in games is almost you can sense there's an awareness in the team of just how careful they need to be in terms of their approach, tactical shape, not giving things away, what they're comfortable doing. I mean, I even think about that Arsenal game, which ended up being obviously a thrashing in the end.
Yeah,
I think about the first half, and I think about what City were comfortable with again, and how they could live with Arsenal. These are all excellent footballers who had that technique and haven't lost that ability. And again, as you mentioned, it's either once the physicality gets ratcheted up and the game becomes a bit more stretched, it suddenly becomes really difficult. But actually, very often what it's been, as you say, it's just been really, really, really careful, cautious approach, and all of a sudden an error is made. And then it feels like once that error is made, there's a real kind of drain of confidence in the side. And then sides sense that and they really go at City physically. And that's proved hard to deal with.
Like the Reds, it's Jack here, and that was a clip from one of Anfield Index's audio podcasts. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure you do like, share and subscribe to keep up to date on all things LFC. We record around 100 audio podcasts every month, with our shows featuring match-going fans, top journalists, professional analysts and even Liverpool legends along the way. With the great Dane himself, Jan Molby, joining us every single week. If you want to listen to all our podcasts for free, head over to AnfieldIndex.com/podcasts. Our audio shows are available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Anfield Index. Or if you prefer to listen to all our podcasts in full and without any ads, why not head over to AI Pro today to check it out now at AnfieldIndexPro.com. If you want to get involved in the great growing community of Liverpool fans, check out the Anfield Index Discord. The link is in the description. Do get involved with that from Reds around every corner of the globe. For now, Reds, hope you enjoyed this video.